Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jayo Nitai, Chaitanya Chandra Nitai, Chaitanya Chandra Gaura Hari. Jayo Nitai, Gaura Chandra Nitai, Gaura Chandra Gaura Hari. Jaya Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Radhe. Jayo Giri Govardhan, Jayo Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jayo Giri Govardhan. Jayo Radha, Nila Madhav Radha, Nila Madhav Radhe. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Ashtottara Sata Shri Srimati's Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Ashtottara Sata Shri Srimati's Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind Ki. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्णा गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की गंगामाई यमुनामाई की भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की श्रील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की श्रील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसेंडेंटल प्रसादम डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Suranandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jamuna Tiravana Chari Shri Shri Radhanila Madhava ki. Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Go Brahmanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is unmanifested today. I think Krishna is trying to tell me something. So we'll chant the verse and see what happens. Savarta sambhavo deho janita posito jata natayorati jati nirvesham pitrormatya sathajusam sarvatra sambhavo deho janita posito jata natayoryati nirvesham pitrumatra sathajusam sarvata sambhavo deho janita posito jata natayoryati nirvesham pitrumatya sachayusha. Please. Mataji's. Okay, word for word. Sarva, of all. Artha, goals of life. Sambhava, the source. Deha, one's body. Janitaha, born. Poshitaha, maintained. Yataha, from whom? Na, not. Tahyo, to them. Yati, one achieves. Nirvesham, repayment of the debt. Not supposed to go into debt, are we? Pitro, to the parents. Maratya, a mortal. Shata, of 100 years. Ayusha, with a lifespan. With one's body, one can acquire all goals of life, and it is one's parents who give the body birth and sustenance. Therefore, no mortal man can repay his debt to his parents, even if he serves them for a full lifetime of 100 years. So let's all repeat this, because this is a really interesting verse, particularly since I don't have the Bhagavatam to see what's before and after. It's like existing within a vacuum here, so I want everybody on the same place, you know. Because I have Kuvera's phone. He can't look back and forth either. Please repeat. With one's body, one can acquire all goals of life. And it is one's parents who give the body birth and sustenance. Oh, don't worry, Sahib. I don't need it. I'll be fine. Therefore, no mortal man can repay his debt to his parents, even if he serves them for a full lifetime of 100 years. Takes a devotee to have full faith in Krishna that something that exists does exist. Thank you. Ooh, can't I just skip to Krishna kidnaps Rukmini? Okay. So, here is the purport. Having stated, both of you are parents, and we have suffered because of our separation, Krishna now states that his and Balaram's religious principles have been spoiled by their failure to satisfy their parents. Om Ganatimanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshum Tamjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Karamayam Parati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Truvyascha Kripa Sindhu Bebacha Patitenam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Karamayam Bharati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitenam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Mukum Karoti Vachalam Pangunaga Ite Karim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shri Mate Tamal Krishna Goswaminiti Namane Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shri Mati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Shirashati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirve Sesha Sunyavadi Paskatade Satarane. Well, Krishna is in a rather unique position that most persons don't have to deal with, in that he basically has two sets of parents. One that gave him birth and one that gave him life, in that sense, is how he lived as a child. Right? So there's a lot of experience that happens in childhood. If you think, and we're about to go through the baby season here. They had one of those a few years back in Dallas. So many little babies are about to show up. You see how quickly they assimilate life in whatever situation they're in, and how integral that is to their association with their parents. Right? Now, Vasudeva and Devaki, surely they gave birth to Krishna. And in the mood of horror and ghastliness and suspense and love, when Krishna was born as Vishnu with 4 hands, they said, please, if you walk around like this, everyone will know you're Vishnu, and Kamsa will come and kill you. He's already killed 6 of your brothers. I mean, what mother should live through this? How does one mother live through this? Right? So she said, please just hide. And then Vasudeva literally goes and hides Krishna in Vrindavan. Out of love. Because he and Devaki, neither of them could experience this pain and misery that they were experiencing. They were at the breaking point. Krishna knew this, so he appeared, and all these interesting arrangements happen, that all the guards fall asleep, which they generally do anyway. If you've ever spent the night in a jail doing Sankirtan, it's funny, all the guards... if something's happening, they have no idea. So, it's the only time I ever spent time in jail, distributing books for Krishna. But we suffer every day in some kind of way in this material world. At the hands of others, at the hands of our own self, and at the hands of divine providence. There's suffering being thrust upon us. Adi Daivik, Adi Bodhik, Adi Atmik. Right? Yeah. So, Krishna's identifying with the anxiety that his parents must have actually gone through. Even though they knew he was protected, they knew what was going on, because they sent Gargamuni there to do the name-giving ceremony, right? Gargamuni did come back and report everything to him, and there was information going back and forth between Vrindavan and Mathura constantly. So Vasudeva always knew what his son was up to. But he also knew that Krishna appeared as Vishnu. So Krishna is spending a little bit of time here to reestablish the illusion of I have a son who happens to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but I only remember that he's my son. And therefore he's really saying some interesting things here. He said, our spiritual life, our life has been spoiled because we did not live with you. I mean, they fall into the proverbial village lifestyle where they haven't gone to school. All they learned how to do is to tend the cows. You know how hard it is to tend cows? You open up the gate and they walk out and go eat all day in the forest. And then at the end of the day, they come back and eat the fodder and things that the owners, King Nanda, have for them. There's no work involved at all. None. That's what all these Vrindavan pastimes, Krishna's playing with his friends. Krishna's eating lunch with his friends. Krishna's tormenting the gopis. Krishna's this, Krishna's that. Where does it say anywhere where he made sure the cows ate that day? Huh? It's like, it's the only job Krishna ever had, has no work involved in it. He just goes and plays with his friends, right? Krishna gets that option. My one devotee was talking to me today about how difficult life in this material world is because we have to work, we have to provide for this, we have to see that this is done, that's done, all these other different things. It's true. It's not that we didn't arrange to be in that position, either by our birth or by how we live our life. Whether we're devotees or not is incidental. Krishna explained all of that in the Govardhan Leela. The world works whether I get involved or not. But anyway, his parents here are just trying to adjust to this new reality that now all of a sudden they have 2 boys in their Kishora age, ready to do what? They haven't been educated? So all of this admission to Krishna, to his parents, is to give them permission to control their life. Right? To take over as parents from the city, from the aristocracy, from the establishment, and raise them up to be proper citizens of the world. So that's what Krishna's doing here. He's really handing over power over his destiny, Krishna's destiny, Balaram's destiny, to their parents, Vasudeva and Devaki. And in order to do this, they have to firmly believe that they have that right. Because they haven't raised Krishna. They know that. And in India, there's various levels of relationship. Who raises you is more important than who gave you birth, right? But Krishna here is saying, you gave me birth, therefore I can never repay your debt. For one who is Aja, unborn, that's a pretty bold statement. So how much does the fact of Krishna appearing through the womb of Devaki actually have on his life? How much influence is Krishna's apparent birth for his activities as the Supreme Personality of Godhead? I can't answer that either, but it's an interesting question. But Krishna is giving over permission to his parents. And of course it's about to backfire because they're going to immediately haul him off to school. He's going to go from playing in the forest every day with his friends to going to school and learning all the 64 arts, which he learns in 64 days, by the way. And it's quite interesting how Krishna delineates, and we'll read about this shortly, what real knowledge is. Real knowledge is how to live peacefully and beautifully and artistically and intelligently in this life. Real knowledge is not that I can be an accountant or a businessman or this or that, because Krishna is actually maintaining everyone. The ants get their sugar, the elephant gets their 200 pounds of leaves and grass. The giraffes are very specific. They only eat from the tops of the trees, and therefore they have very long necks to accomplish that. How kind is Krishna? Right? And he gives us all these wonderful things that we don't really have to work for that much. Things that grow on the earth, milk that's produced by the cows. Right? I mean, it's not that you don't have to take care of them, but it's still, we understand, right? This part about Krishna having the best job in the world that he doesn't really have to work at. And, but as a parent of Krishna, you have to approach Krishna with the veil of Yogamaya, where you don't see him, in the Aishwarya of my son is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore you see in most of his pastimes, he doesn't stay at home. Vamanadev left. Prithu Maharaj left. Ram was banished. So many things happened. And actually we don't hear a whole lot about Ram's childhood pastimes. Some things. But generally you don't really hear about a whole lot until he's in this age that Krishna is at now, where he starts taking responsibility in the kingdom. Right? So Krishna's pastimes are a little different in that sense, where we really get into Krishna when he appears to have no real responsibility, and how does Krishna, God, deal with his most intimate and dear loving devotees? We get that glimpse of Krishna in Vrindavan. Just like we sing this song each day during this Adhik Mas, meditating on Krishna as a thief. It's an interesting bhav. But Krishna ultimately in the song takes everything away from the devotee. And the devotee is just so thankful for that. Now, how many people in this room or out there on the internet really want Krishna to destroy, disrupt, and relocate all of your material life so that you can just sit around and chant bhajans and write bhajans beautiful about how Krishna has been so kind to me that he took everything away from me? Now that's a leap of faith, huh? Yeah. So let's see, can we do that? Do we want to do that? Is that really what we're doing during this Adhik Mas, to purify ourselves so that Krishna will take everything away from us? Is that our goal? We're meditating on it. The Damodar Astakam a little different. It's Krishna in Vrindavan. Wherein he simply plays with all his devotees and makes them happy all day. But here we're learning Krishna is Hari. He takes it all away. We ready? It's nice. You're doing all this wonderful extra service so that he can take it all away from you. Yeah, you can't imagine the relief that is. Because in that, you should be intelligent enough to realize that even though you're supposed to live 100 years, you're probably over the halfway mark, because experience says most people don't live to be 100 years, right? Yeah, I'm not making fun of the situation, but you gotta have a real catch. We know anything can happen. Anything. Yeah, so it's very difficult how much we suffer in this material world. So Krishna says here that we owe this to our parents, but we can't repay it. So what's the point? Why should we bother, right? It's American mentality. I can't pay off that debt. I'm just going to run away and spend my money myself on me. Why not? But it's not true that Americans are that cold towards their parents, at least not in my experience. I don't have all the experience in the world, but I do have a very nice, loving family. That we all took very good care of our parents whenever they needed us. And they took enormously good care of us when we were growing up. We had plenty of time to play and plenty of good instructions that when that time ended, we could be responsible adults. So that's good. So how do we deal with this? If all of our teachings from the acharyas is that we should give up everything and simply surrender to Krishna. Bhagavatam clearly states that one who surrenders to Mukunda, the giver of liberation, no longer owes any debts. Not to their parents or their teachers, their gurus, society, friendship, none of that. So welcome to Bhagavatam 101. There's a lot of good information there that one has to carefully research and digest in accordance to the instructions of a realized personality, our spiritual masters. See? Very careful. Prabhupada writes in the 4th verse, the purport, right? Where he's talking about now that this Bhagavatam has been spoken by Shukadeva Goswami, it's even more delicious and relishable because he spoke it as an empowered living entity taught by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vyasadeva, the author, in a way wherein which every single person who is sincere within this Kali Yuga will be able to understand what is that perfection of human life that we're constantly striving for. Right? And Prabhupada writes how Shukadeva Goswami so carefully, this is a quote, presents this philosophy through direct realization and experience. Now, what experience did he have? He took birth and walked away. Right? He was in the womb for 16 years. I'll let you go back to the Bhagavatam for that one. It takes so long during class, 1, 2, 5, 10 verses a day to go through the entire Bhagavatam. It's very beautiful, but we should read ourselves in addition to class every day, an hour and a half, or an hour at least, Prabhupada said. He said an hour and a half, and then he said, but at least 1 hour. And that was when practically the only books were the Bhagavad Gita, Ishupanishad, Upadeshamrita, and Easy Journey to Other Planets. Like that. Huh? Krishna speaks very clearly in the Bhagavad Gita what we should be doing and how we should be doing it. Great clarity, because, say, well, my parents are gone now. Nice enough that in my devotional service they were able to leave in Krishna consciousness. Very nice thing. They told me that when I was a bhakta. I didn't completely believe them, but I believed them enough to stay with my authority's opinion, and it actually works. Your parents, if you do not pay back your debt, except by the performance of pure devotional service, then your parents will be delivered just the same as Dhruva Maharaj's mother, whom was his only other love in life. Right? It's described. Dhruva didn't die. We heard this from Sesha the other day. He simply stepped on the head of death, over his head, as death offered pranams. He stepped on death's head and then walked into the Vaikuntha airplane, the Pushpa Bhavan, to take him back to Godhead, right? But he asked one question: how can I leave? Or no. My mother lost 3 children, babies. She never forgot. Yudhishthira Maharaj said it's the most painful experience in the world that a parent should outlive their children. Torture. But it happens. I mean, she raised 7 other ones. She was busy. She didn't wallow in her grief. But she never forgot. So, very complicated, this whole parent-child relationship. Particularly in the way that Krishna is presenting it now. even though Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, who Vasudeva and Devaki picked to take care of Krishna, took such good care of them. Still Krishna is saying, but I actually owe everything to you, and I've not been able to even serve you until now. All of this is very complicated, but we have to be very, very careful in how we understand these apparently contradictory statements in the scriptures. Therefore, we do not simply read and decide what's the truth. We actually have to work through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, and they should all balance. But we have to learn about Krishna through the association of the devotees, with the association of devotees, not against the association of devotees. Therefore, we always have to remain humble and tolerant, so that we can take advantage of devotee association. It's not easy all the time, right? There's complications. I mean, Akrura is a great devotee of Krishna, and he went and brought Krishna to Kamsa to be killed. Now, he's a great devotee. He knew really Kamsa wasn't going to be able to kill him. And anyway, I get to be with Krishna on the chariot. I'm okay with it. Even if I have to take him to his apparent death, I'm good. Right? That's a devotee. He puts away the contradictory rasa or bhava that's happening, so that he can simply worship Krishna as Krishna, the loving Supreme Personality of Godhead, who decides everything for us. Very deep. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, and one devotee once asked me, how does this seem so simple? What does Krishna say in chapter 4, verse 9? Janma karma chinme divyam. If you just learn, just know my birth and activities, you're going back to Godhead. So Krishna is now talking about his birth and activities. Does anybody here get it completely? How Krishna is humbling himself in front of his birth parents? That's a modern term. Prabhupada doesn't use it in the Bhagavatam. In the Krishna book like that, because that wasn't being used then, because there's everything in Kali Yuga is so broken. It's all broken. The entire structure of society, friendship, love, all of it's broken. Therefore we have terms like birth mothers, birth parents, and things like that. But Krishna here is just using the term parents. But he's saying, I owe you big time, and I'm not going to be able to pay you off. So therefore, much in the same way that we advance in spiritual life, by diligence, constant vigilance, diligence, and that we keep trying to move forward in Krishna consciousness, we do that. But similarly, we always have to remember where our mercy is flowing from. Without our parents, we would not have taken birth. Without Krishna's selection of your parents, you would not have taken the birth that you got that brought you in to the Hare Krishna temple, right? Oops. See, I can't see. I don't even know. On May 20th, 2018, to hear Krishna Kripa admit how bewildered he is regarding understanding Krishna's relationship with his parents. He's the original broken home. He's got 4 of them. And he's all cool with it. He understands it completely. And we're getting this whole other message today. Up to now, how many times have we heard in the Bhagavatam? Give up all attachment to this material world. Jad Bharat took it to King Rahugana. Shukadeva Goswami tells it to Parikshit. Parikshit just gives it all up. The sages that can't even, he's like, wow, they can't wrap my minds around that. How did he just give up his responsibilities? He's so kind. He's so magnanimous. All the money he brings in, he simply gives it to the people for their protection and their care and their upbringing and their well-being and all of the... How can he just give this up? But we hear it from the early stages of the Bhagavatam. First 5 chapters of the Bhagavatam are just astounding in establishing what we're doing here in this material world and what we should be doing in this material world, and how by doing what we should be doing will free us from the misery we experience day in and day out. Right? Is there any day, if you really try to remember it, and generally we don't, we're not able to do this, that we didn't have some misery? I mean, think about it. We never seek it. It comes unaccounted. It just comes to us, right? We seek happiness and we get misery. It's very different. This is how this world is arranged. But even if you're happily chanting Hare Krishna, like I do sometimes on my porch swing in the afternoon, I'm so happy. And then the mosquitoes start chewing on me. I'm no longer happy. I mean, I've gotten okay. My swing is it's a very interesting place to contemplate the precarious position we're in this material world, and how knowledge can help you with that. We have these big black bumblebees, these madhus that they have in Vrindavan, but the ones here, they have a tendency to bore into wood and live inside of there. So my swing is wood, and I have 3 or 4 nests in my swing. So when you start to swing back and forth, they come up and look at you like, what's this all about, man? We live down here. And then they go away, but they always kind of hover around while you're sitting there trying to chant. They don't bite you. They're not after you, But you have to be able to, and I that's why I like to chant there. I can actually adjust to the fact that this is apparently very dangerous. But it isn't. I've never been bitten, and it's been happening for years. And at the same time, the mosquitoes come and just chew me to pieces. You've been walking and chanting your rounds in your house, you get your eyes kind of glaze over a little bit, and you bump into something or step on something on the floor. Does that ever happen? I mean, you're just trying to chant your rounds peacefully, right? But it happens. Right? Or you bump into a doorway. Maybe I'm just clumsy, but things like that happen to me. And I think about this. How is it that here I am trying my best to get out of this material world? In my mind, that's the nature of pride, right? We really are trying our best today to be Krishna conscious, right? Yeah, of course. And yet still something to completely distract me from it happens. What to do? What is generally the driving principle in our devotional service? What emotion pushes us forward the fastest? Prabhupada writes about that also. Huh? Shraddha, faith. No, actually that's not a rasa. It's a different thing. It is there. It has to be there. But there's a rasa Prabhupada describes in the Bhagavatam that absent of love, real love, it tends to drive our emotions towards Krishna. Anger. Anger. Huh? Anger because you realize something's not right. It doesn't have to be full-blown, I'm going to kill something. Anger. Yeah, anger. Yeah. It's the only real thing that Krishna warns you about in the Bhagavad Gita. That if you become angry, what happens? What's that verse? Right? You become anger, then... Yeah, everything falls apart. You become anger, right? But it is that anger at the material energy, at our suffering condition, at those other living entities who are keeping us from attaining our material goals, that motivates us to think something's wrong. If everything's going wonderfully and beautifully and nice and happy all the time, would you change anything? Nothing. There has to be a force of emotion behind wanting to change everything, which is to love Krishna. And what is the first thing that you have to do to learn to love Krishna? Huh? No, not that I remember. What was the first instruction in the Bhagavad Gita? We're not our body. You first have to, you're not your body. You first have to identify what are you dealing with. Right? In problem solving. Anybody ever take a class in problem solving? Yeah, you're an engineer. Yeah, that's all we do. Fix other people's mistakes, right? But problem solving, do they teach that anymore? Like in IT and all that, electrical and double E they call it now. Do they teach you how to solve problems? Yeah, it has nothing. Yeah, they don't separate it because that's always there, right? End of every day too, right? Problem solving. Well, the first principle of problem solving, if you take it from an educational, philosophical perspective, is identifying the problem. And the second step is identifying whether it's your problem or not. Because if it's not your problem, you're not going to fix it no matter how much you inject yourself into the situation. So, the first problem is that we're covered by the false ego into thinking all of this around me is significant and important. Because this is where my pleasure, which I experience in my body, comes from. But it isn't where your real pleasure comes from, because your body's not really you. That's just the false ego. The false ego is so subtle that it is everything we identify with separate from Krishna. Because what does it start with, the false ego? I, me, and mine. That I, the body, have significance. Yeah, exactly. And this is mine because it's me, because it's... So anytime you want to wonder what platform you're coming at something from, if those three words, I, me, or mine, show up, it's the false ego. It's not going to help you today. It may help you later today when you realize, wow, that was foolish. If you ever want conviction on that, you can read the chapter of the 11th canto. I think we're getting to that. Gurupriya, Maharaj's readings, we're getting close to the Advanti Brahmana, Song of the Advanti Brahmana, right? Maharaj is reading from the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam every night. The 11th canto of the Bhagavatam is basically the summary study of the previous 10 cantos of instruction, specifically regarding how we do understand Krishna. And there's, in the section that we're reading now, is all part of the Uddhava Gita, which is Krishna instructing Uddhava, also his very dear friend. Right? I mean, Uddhava is so attached to Krishna, he starts looking like him. He wears only Krishna's remnant cloth. So even from a distance to everybody else, he looks like Krishna. That's how attached he is to Krishna. And therefore Krishna takes him aside and instructs him, and then sends him to Badrinath, because Krishna didn't go to Badrinath to give benedictions and to get the association of Naranarayan Rishi. Right? So he teaches Uddhava and said, you go, on my behalf, you go and visit them. Right? So anger pushes us to want to change our situation. And it doesn't have to, like I say, it doesn't have to be really heavy, fear-inducing anger to those around you, but it is that anger within ourselves that, what am I not doing right? How can I make my life better? And then Krishna starts to reveal, right, a little bit of how he's doing things and where you can find him and like that. Just as a personal example, and I know we're not supposed to throw our little resume out here in front of people, I wanted to read Bhagavad Gita for 3 years before meeting the devotees. And every bookstore, I'm a very avid reader, still am today. One of my weaknesses is reading other things. And every bookstore I'd go into, I'd always end up back over at the spiritual section, and I'd hold the Bhagavad Gita in my hand. I should really buy this today. And I never could. I could never actually buy any Bhagavad Gita until I met the devotees, and then only Prabhupada's. And actually, even then I didn't get a Bhagavad Gita. I got a Easy Journey to Other Planets. And the next book I was given was the Ishupanishad. And that was when they didn't know it at the time, I'd already joined. I was only preached to one day, and I never left. This is Krishna. It's not that I knew where I was going in life. I was hitchhiking around America. If I was going wherever people took me, I could change my plans in a flash. So I didn't know where I was going, but Krishna knew where he wanted me to go. And therefore I would meet the devotees. And he knew when it was completely appropriate to preach to me this wonderful philosophy of the Bhagavatam. And somehow or other, everyone else in this room got here too. Because Krishna wanted you into a particular place at a particular time in your consciousness when you would be open to Krishna. And then by the end of your life, you're going to find out that, wow, man, he took everything away from me. Just like the song we're singing. He will take it all. But no one who understands this philosophy, even a little bit, is bewildered by that change. Huh? No one. If we just open our heart to Krishna, he opens his heart to us. And you can't break that bond of actual love. Not possible. Not possible. I've watched it. Seen it. That's Krishna. That's actual spiritual love. Like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, what happens to a yogi? Yogi, we're bhakti yogis, who do not attain perfection in this process. And Krishna says he takes a very good birth. Right? Mercantile, aristocratic family like that, right? So he has facility for enjoying in the material world. The Prabhupada says, and that's in the Bhagavatam also, how he takes everything away from us. Right? Second canto. So, when Krishna is particularly pleased with your devotional service in your previous life, he has you take birth in a situation you want to escape from. Right? And in that life is when you fully, really take up Krishna consciousness. And you gain so much power and spiritual happiness that we're taken care of. Krishna personally, the acharyas personally involve themselves in our deliverance without fail. Yeah, it happens. And we should have faith in that, Shraddha, like Prabhu was saying. Have faith that whatever you're giving to Krishna, even though, and we can, kind of conjecture here a little bit, we probably, at least none of us in this room, probably really don't think we're making any real substantive advancement towards Krishna in this life. Because every time we walk into this temple, as beautiful as Radharani and Madhava look, they still look like they're made of marble. And that they just stand there very peacefully while we hang all these heavy clothes on them to wear all day, right? And they look very beautiful. But have we gotten to the point where we see Krishna as Krishna when we look at Radha Nila Madhava? Don't answer that. But do we wake up every day and try to advance just a little more in the quality of our effort to obtain Krishna? Because if we're doing that, then we're moving towards Krishna every day. And if all that you got the previous day is where you start from today. So all the wonderful preaching and Krishna conscious activity you did yesterday goes to your credit. And today we start there. So there is no way that if we at least try every day to be Krishna conscious, that we won't be more Krishna conscious today than we were yesterday. Stands to reason, doesn't it? So that's proof that you're always advancing. Always. It's just it moves so slowly, but you don't notice it. Any questions or comments? I have a slight loss of hearing in my left ear.
When we are actually going through life where Krishna is taking away everything for our own good, can we be in a state of happiness as well?
No, you think Krishna is taking away because he's mean to you.
He's what?
Because he's being mean to you. Like, why are you doing this to me, Krishna? I'm serving you. That's usually how we think. Krishna doesn't make us feel good about what he's taking away until we actually want him to take it away. We generally don't want Krishna to take away our life, but he will. All those little pieces that we find false happiness in, or Prabhupada writes in one place, he calls it incomplete happiness. What a nice term. Incomplete happiness. So that's what we get in the material world. It's happiness, sure, it's the same emotion, but it's incomplete. So when Krishna starts taking things away, generally, we wonder why, which means we're not really that happy about it, right? But if we want him to remove us from our material life and all those distractions, and we want to feel good about it, yeah, then it becomes a little different. But in general, because what happens to most people is they just go about their life and they can make incremental advancement day in and day out, and then gradually they leave their body in Krishna consciousness. Generally. We don't actually have to give up everything. Because at the point of death, we see that people know they can't enjoy anymore. The devotees. And they have a peace and a presence of mind where they're happy that, okay, it's all come to this. The philosophy now completely applies because now I can't enjoy anything. So people stop drinking, stop eating, stop doing everything. And they live within their subtle consciousness, which is basically Krishna conscious. Because where do we live? We live in things that surround us, surrounding us, reminding us of Krishna, isn't it? We have pictures of Krishna, deities of Krishna, this of Krishna, that of Krishna, books about Krishna. We see them all over the house. Right? So like that. Yeah, we don't ever feel good about it until we want to feel good. And then Krishna doesn't really have to take it away. We've already given it up. But the taking away hurts, always. But don't worry. Prabhupada writes in the next verse, that's a Jama Kamartime Divyam, that it's a very slow process. It is a long, slow process. You won't even feel it. You won't feel the other side of gaining Krishna as losing the material energy. You don't feel that either. It's so incrementally small that it doesn't really show up on the radar until all of a sudden you realize, well, I'm not even attached to that. I don't like to do that anymore. I don't do that anymore. And you just notice that you stop doing certain things that you kind of wanted to give up but weren't really trying to. Like that. Someone else?
There's a comment like when Narada Muni was a boy, a snake bit his mother, and it's not that it doesn't say that he was happy that his mother passed away, but because he was so Krishna conscious, he saw it as Krishna's arrangement, so he definitely didn't resent his mother dying, and it gave him facility for surrendering to Krishna more. So that's a good example that we could try to follow when Krishna inevitably takes things away from us. I just had a question or a comment that it's kind of an exciting point that you made about anger being a big emotion that can help you come to Krishna. But anger also in the Bhagavad Gita is described that it leads to bewilderment of memory and falling in the material pool. So I think that sometimes statements like that, which are very exciting, can be misunderstood. Like Arjuna uses anger in Krishna's service in the Battle of Kurukshetra, but a lot of people use anger in the wrong way. Just a comment.
Well, both of those points were brought up in the class, that verse that you just mentioned about anger destroying everything. But the idea was that anger is a rasa, right? It is a rasa. It's one of those emotional relationships. But that's what leads us out of the material world. We have to want to go out, and we don't want to leave what's comfortable to us unless there's some compelling reason. And generally that's anger. And it doesn't have to be manifested as full-blown, I'm going to break the door down, burn my house, and walk away. But it's the motivating principle that something is wrong, I've got to change it. That's anger. Subtle. Very subtle. Krishna doesn't use stress in the Bhagavad Gita. Distressed. Yeah, they all come.
So anger is
But they come because they want something better.
Somebody could make an argument that gratitude and love is also important for coming to Krishna, not
Sure.
anger. I think it can be misunderstood. That's
Sure. Someone comes because they're distressed, they come to Krishna, and then they advance. But it doesn't mean they attain perfection just because they were distressed. Because that distressed person gradually realizes that happiness comes from Krishna, and if they're still materially tinged, they may want to have Krishna help them with situating themselves in a comfortable life, even if it's just the bare necessities. But if they come with very little effort, then they're happier. Then that person may also want to become more inquisitive, just how does this work? Right? How does this work that Krishna is doing all this? He's inquisitive. And gradually, that same person will come to the stage of wanting knowledge of the absolute truth. I simply want Krishna. I mean, it's very well possible it could be the exact same person that comes on those 4 different states as they progress, advancing in Krishna consciousness lifetime after lifetime, or even within the same life. At any rate, anything we want that is better than what we have leads us to Krishna ultimately. Because there's a emotion there that's pushing us forward. And if you read that purport, you'll see where Prabhupada lists all the rasas from Kani Kanapur. And then talks about that. Bhagavatam 1:1-4. Or it may have been one of the last ones. I was reading this whole section and really just enjoying how Prabhupada is presenting. And he said all these other things about how careful Shukadev Goswami is about presenting this philosophy in a way that the general populace can appreciate and not be confused by it. Because there's a lot of contradictions. I mean, here Krishna is saying you'll never never repay the debt your parents gave you by giving you birth. That's a pretty heavy statement. We don't usually hear that in our philosophy. We hear we don't owe anybody anything when we turn to Krishna, right? We hear that verse a lot more than we hear this verse, nah? Isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, it's all interesting. It's all deep. It's very deep. Don't worry what you don't understand, what you don't get, what you don't feel like you have realization about. Worry about what you do have. Nice quote was sent out on the TKG Sangha where Tamal Krishna Goswami said, one should not pretend or elevate oneself to a position they don't have the realization. It's a simple quote. It's much more simple than that. Not that many words. But it said we actually should just simply be on the level that we're on. It's higher than we were every day. Little bit. Right? So we don't try to pretend we know philosophy by speaking lots of philosophy. We have to speak only that which we actually do understand. Or see the pathway and therefore can speak about it. Like many things I said today, I don't have full realization of, but I see how they're connecting, and they help me understand the depth that this philosophy is, even though I may not be in that depth of philosophy. But it's interesting. Like, how does Krishna say, I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who took birth in your womb, will never be able to repay that debt, when all we heard prior to that about that was that Krishna chose to appear in the womb of Devaki to Patirthanaya Sadhunam Vinasyajudiskritam, kill the miscreants and benedict the devotees. Now Krishna is saying, I owe you an unpayable debt. I don't pretend to understand this. That much I can say. But it's in the Bhagavatam, we have to speak about it. We have to try to understand something from it. Eh? Like that. Mataji, you had a question? No? Okay.
Because he wanted to stimulate that Vatsalya bow with the parents. He wanted them to forget about the awe and reverence part, that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Well, I didn't mention it like that, but that's what Nainamrita and Vinod Bihari also spoke about. And I spoke a little saying that he's reestablishing the parental controls that his parents should have over them. That's what he's trying to, I mean, in adding to what they said, that this is how he's helping his parents see themselves as parents, because they actually know he appeared as Vishnu. You don't forget that. when Krishna appears in front of you in your lifetime, you do not forget that. It doesn't happen. Right?
Yes.
So he appeared as God, fully decorated with ornaments and clothes and everything. You know, babies aren't born with clothes and jewelry. And they didn't have a shop over there in the corner of their jail cell that they could decorate him with. He appeared as God. And that's a long, interesting, detailed story, that some glimpse of that can be presented in how did they, in their previous birth, get benedicted to give birth to God. And that can be found in some other more esoteric books, corollary to the Bhagavatam and quoted from the Bhagavatam, that we can talk later, if you want. I'm more careful. I don't make public statements that lead everybody off on a Rasabhava thing. I'm not there. I'm not going to send anybody else over there. Okay, well, I think we actually do. Yes?
The anger we talked about, that can be mellowed down by what is a good practice? Is it still chanting?
Well, anger, what we don't like about anger is when it's heavy. And it's strong, and it's this and that. But subtle anger is what motivates a person to do something. Right? And anger has lots of stratification to it. So it's not bad, because we see Hanuman used anger very diligently in Ram's service. Arjuna is going to use anger, right, in the battle of Kurukshetra. Very diligently, and with Krishna's full approval, he's riding the chariot there. Huh? So that's a level of anger, but there's other levels of anger that, I mean, frustration is anger, in the sense that it causes you to want to change something, right? And that's your motivating principle. Understanding rasa is so difficult. This is the subtle science of existence. It's not something you just get. It's something you advance into. And like I say, I don't pretend to understand this, but I can repeat those statements in some degree of how it affected me. A statement like that. We shouldn't color that statement with what we think anger is, or how we experience anger, or what we see as anger. Our experience of anger may be very different, and that's where we're going to fall back on. Our default position is experience in this body, with this mind and intelligence and false ego, which is going to remember when somebody got angry at us. But the actual understanding of anger is much broader than that. Just like happiness. Sometimes you're happy, and sometimes you're happy. There's different levels of smiling. We can smile without showing our teeth. We can smile showing our teeth. We can smile actually opening our mouth and laughing. They're all smiles, but they're very different levels. And they all work in the same way. Like Krishna is perfect, and he's more perfect, and he's most perfect. It's in the nectar of devotion. The science of rasa is like that. It's not hard facts. This isn't science, empirical science anyway. This is subtle science of rasa. Bhakti rasa amrita sindhu. It is an ocean. And if you're like me and you tend to watch documentaries about the water because I grew up in it, you realize they have less knowledge of the ocean than they have of the moon. And even the moon, whatever knowledge science has about the moon, according to Prabhupada, is wrong. So what did they do? They still got it wrong. I'll take Prabhupada's opinion and side on any argument any day, ever. Whether I get it or not, I'll still say, Prabhupada knows what he's talking about. I don't. Hare Krishna. Yantra Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. And please try not to hide the Bhagavatam tomorrow.